Alright. This is retake like 5 or something. Don't worry, it's not the 5th shot, it's the 2nd. Gonna read tonight from Clash of Extremes, Economic Origins of the Civil War by Mark Engel. Bought from the bookstore at the visitor center. Mind you, so this is more or less approved material, okay? Before I get started, I just want to point out, I certainly learned some new things from this book, but a lot of it was reinforcement. I don't want folks thinking, oh, Kevin's always said this and that, and he got it all from this book. No. This book was an expounding upon, some basic tenets that I knew, and it went into depth about certain aspects that I never gave that much thought about, including the Great Lakes states and the Great Lakes themselves and the waterways that connected them as far as commerce goes, okay? But we're going to start off in the introduction. Many historians now affirm the traditional wisdom that slavery caused the Civil War. The North, led by the Republican Party, attacked the institution, the South defended it, and war was the result. Goes on to mention James McPherson, and James McPherson is great, okay, but like I've said before, a lot of those who do the official story stuff kind of dodge some of the other things. So there are difficulties with this idealistic explanation. To begin with, an emphasis on strongly held views about slavery sheds little light on the sequence of events that led to the Civil War. At least since the beginning of the 19th century, Northerners had resolutely condemned slavery. Even a few advocated immediate abolition. Immediate abolition, i.e., many thought, oh, we'll gradually emancipate themselves, which is like, not in my lifetime, right? Not while, my profits are on the hook. And this mentions nothing at all about equal rights. It doesn't even mention it. And if other people have evidence to the contrary, I would love to hear from you. This hostility to bondage, however, marked both the era of compromise as well as the increasingly bitter clashes of the 1850s culminating in war. A persuasive interpretation must look elsewhere to explain why a lengthy period of cooperation gave way to one of conflict. A focus on slavery also explains little about the divisions in the North and the South. It assumes unity in each of these regions when in fact there was fragmentation. Southerners who deemed the Republican victory so threatening that they called for secession comprised only a distinct minority within their sections. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to skip that. There's no question that some individuals in the South felt that Lincoln's election posed a mortal threat to slavery, but more did not. Similarly, the North was divided in the years before the war, with only Republicans rejecting compromise. In 1856, most Northerners backed the Republicans' opponents, and even in 1860, 45% of the North voted for a candidate other than Lincoln. Another inconvenient fact that a lot of people know but would choose to forget. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to skip past most of that. Basically what they're saying, basically what Mark Engel is saying, and that, again, that's from the introduction, page 5 and 6. Basically what he's saying is that then as in now, those who choose to fan the flames, right, the media and the official storytellers, to divide a nation, they only focus on the extremists. They didn't pay any attention. The history books don't pay any attention, if you think about it, in the official story, pay no attention to the common man, to the common person, either in the North or the South. They only pay attention to the abolitionists, the fire eaters, and the big plantation owners who owned like 200 plus slaves in the South, which were by far the minority and the exception more than the rule. Now I'm just going to go to some kind of seemingly random but really interconnected quotes and select short passages. Page 25. A third set of economic ties, links between the manufacturers and merchants of the North and the cotton planters of the South, something I've mentioned quite a bit, also drew together the sections. Northern mills, which expanded rapidly after the War of 1812, consumed perhaps a fifth of the cotton crop. Shipments of this raw material to the North amounted to nearly $20 million a year and encouraged the mill owners to look favorably upon ties with the South. This relationship culminated in the election of a prominent cotton Whig, Robert C. Winthrop of Massachusetts, and I mentioned Massachusetts as having many of the mills. as Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives in 1847. Moving on. My bookmarks kind of suck. Alright, your little scraps of paper. Remarkable 89% of the 500 wealthiest men were Whigs. 89% of the wealthiest people in America were Whigs. Blah, blah, blah. The greater the wealth, the stronger the allegiance to Whiggery. Whiggery. That's from page 47. Let's see here. Few Southerners engaged in manufacturing. The cloth produced in Middlesex, a single Massachusetts county, was worth more than the output of all Southern mills combined. I'll repeat that one. The cloth produced in Middlesex, a single Massachusetts county, was worth more than the output of all Southern mills combined. That's from page 59. Money, 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 money. Boston and Philadelphia merchants, New York merchants and business people benefited greatly from Southern commerce. Contemporaries testified that his good fat client, we're talking about Daniel Webster here now, the Second Bank of the United States, or the Second Chartered Bank of the United States, BOFA, paid him $50,000 in fees. In 1840s, members of the Whig elite in New York and Boston raised over $60,000 to supplement his income, while other merchants extended the loans to help him maintain his lifestyle. Along with Clay, Webster worked to recharter the Bank of the United States, but as we know, that was vetoed by Jackson. Okay, and there are many negative things to say about Jackson, but one thing he did right was to veto the Second Bank of the United States. And again, that is one of the instrumental things that led up to the Civil War that just completely goes unmentioned. Oh yeah, let's act like money and banking and commerce didn't have anything to do with this. Now these next couple pages, I guess I only have one or two more little sections to read, deal with farming and advancements in farming. Mentions a guy, I'm going to skip past a lot of this, but look up a man named Edmund Ruffin. Edmund Ruffin, okay? And here they talk about landowners in southeastern Pennsylvania, for example, pen livestock to provide tons of manure, rotated crops. That was a new practice. That was, again, with new machinery, okay? Crop rotation was a new idea in the middle 19th century, which greatly expanded the capacity. Also introduced machinery to boost productivity. These farmers benefited from a literate and motivated labor force and the willingness to spend on improvements, i.e. mechanical or industrial improvements. Oh dear, let's see. And it goes on to talk about Lincoln and his view that free African Americans should be second-class citizens. That's a direct quote. And also mentions that he hoped they would be colonized to Africa, their own native land, Iberia, as I've mentioned before. So, this sounds like a lot of reiterations of things I've said before, and it is. But it's important to me that you hear a lot of these things from somebody else's mouth, and from God, that light's awful, and somebody else's pen and somebody else's published works. These, many of these things that I've shared with you guys about the Civil War and as to the whys are not my original thoughts. Okay, I've done a lot of reading. I've shared very little of it with you, but this is one other good book that I would highly recommend you picking up. Okay, it's certainly worth its $20-odd. And you can probably still find it. I just don't like any angle here. You can probably still find it in the bookstore, at the gift shop, at the Gettysburg Visitor Center by the museum. Anyhow, guys, my time is up already. There were lots of other passages I wanted to read, but I'm at my limits. So I will see you later. And one more thing, you've probably seen a lot of these bedtime story readings as of late, and if you haven't, you're going to see a few more of them, because I chose to kind of spread these out into as we go into the warmer months to take up some space, because like I said, I'm going to be doing that Gettysburg. Anyhow, guys, I will see you later.